During their last investigation, they discovered that the distorted space was not only connecting one space to another but also bending time. This revelation made Diablo and Sue more wary of what the other side was capable of. Bending space was no easy feat, though many research efforts had been made recently to control space without even using skills. But bending time was something that not even a skill holder could easily master. Even Diablo had only recently begun to manipulate it during the Tenma Great War. This is pretty concerning. Only a very few could do such things, Sue grumbled at the camp, while Diablo listened, deep in thought. It is. Even I, who have lived for thousands of years, have only managed to control it to some extent. We might be facing a great threat once again. Do you really have no idea about what or who we're going to face? Unfortunately, no, Sue don't know. However, I assure you, we can deal with them, even if they choose violence. You don't have to tell me that. I already know. That's why we must remain calm and optimistic. For Rimuru-sama's sake, we still have to pursue a peaceful way to deal with this possible threat. Let's hope it's just some stranded powerful otherworlder. Otherworlder, huh? Do you have something in mind, Diablo? No, just a bit of pondering, Sue don't know. Sue only gave a little nod. He knew Diablo was actually thinking more than he was saying, but as far as he knew about Diablo, Diablo always handled everything efficiently, albeit sometimes in an annoying way. But then, something big happened. Report. Suddenly, one of the intelligence members entered the camp where Sue and Diablo were staying. Yes, Sue responded. There's been a sudden appearance of a giant gate at the barricaded place. Sue and Diablo looked at each other, neither looking pleased. Strengthen our perimeter. I'll go there right now. Diablo, you coming? Obviously. I need to check it myself. Then let's go. They both walked outside the camp and headed straight to the reported gate. It was still past midnight, and light sources had been installed around the area. Because of this, they could immediately see the giant gate in the place where they had earlier observed the distorted space. The gate was enormous, almost as big as the gate that sealed the capital during the evacuation when the war with the Empire erupted. It had many strange yet artistic carvings. Sue was immediately captivated by the gate's material. With a glance, Sue identified the material as high quality because it could withstand abnormal circumstances. After some intense searching, he realized the material was allianium. The sight of the allianium made Sue stiffen and become highly alert. It was no wonder. Allianium was primarily a material used to create exoskeletons among insectars. Sue was fully aware of how fearsome this material could be if used efficiently. Although not as strong as Hihirokane, allianium was no slouch either, bordering on mythical-grade equipment. Sue quickly understood that whoever made this gate must be a very powerful being. And what's worse, the structure itself was a gate. What kind of creatures would come through this gate? Diablo, on the other hand, seemed calmer. He examined the gate thoroughly, touching it at several points, and remained silent as his mind worked to make sense of whatever appeared before him. Diablo also recognized the material as allianium and felt disturbed by it. Only inhabitants of the spiritual world could obtain allianium. Insectars were one of the creatures capable of producing it. If this gate turned out to be an insectar's way to invade the material world, Diablo would immediately abandon any hope for a peaceful resolution to handle this situation. But he couldn't believe that was the case. His fellow, Zejin, was doing his best to control the insectars in the spiritual world. Diablo knew Zejin was a fierce zealot of Rimuru. Even if Zejin had a hard time controlling the insectars, he wouldn't let a single one escape and invade the material world. Although Diablo wasn't close with Zejin, he trusted him as much as he trusted himself. This left only one possibility. There was some unknown power somewhere holding massive influence. Diablo looked at Sue, who had raised his guard while examining the gate. He understood immediately that Sue was concerned about what kind of creature was behind the gate. He walked towards Sue, patting his shoulder. I understand the risk of not knowing how powerful the threat upon us is. But right now, we cannot do anything but contain this gate with whatever we have. Sue looked at him with a straight face. You really have no idea about what lies beyond this gate. Unfortunately, no, Sue don't know. But one thing I can assure you, this is not an invasion by the insectars. Cryptids. It's possible. However, cryptids don't have any ability to do this kind of thing. Then, we really don't know anything. Yes, we must prepare ourselves. I'll make a barrier to prevent the gate from expanding, if it's able to do so. Much obliged, Diablo. Kufufu, no problem at all, Sue Dono. With a flick of his finger, Diablo created a huge barrier around the gate to stabilize the space and prevent it from moving anywhere. Diablo was also intrigued by the gate's design. It resembled the summoning gate used by Rimuru to call the black numbers. The gate was not bound by space and time, and could simply move anywhere the caster desired. He could not wait to meet the caster. Then, out of nowhere, suddenly, a voice from Rimuru rang out inside Diablo's head. He was a bit shaken, but in split seconds, he regained his composure. Rimuru disconnected the telepathy communication. Diablo felt a surge of happiness at being fully trusted by Rimuru. He already had great optimism from the beginning, but now he had a very certain belief that everything would be fine. Sue noticed the change in Diablo's mood. Somehow, seeing him like that made Sue feel more at ease in facing this mysterious gate. It was no use to feel wary at this time. What needed to be done right now was to prepare for anything. Sue was confident in his strength, so whatever beings came from the gate, he would face them with all his might. There was also Diablo. Sue admitted he was inferior compared to Diablo, who was bestowed with the title of one of the 12 Guardian Lords. But they were comrades serving the same Lord. They could work together to face whatever lay beyond the gate. The night passed unexpectedly peacefully. Nothing strange came out of the gate. However, not wanting to let their guard down, the Yellow Numbers Corps remained in battle formation several hundred meters in front of the gate. There was a hill nearby where the army made camp. There, Diablo and Sue, along with the researchers and intelligence officers, stayed and kept watch on the gate. It was already sunrise. Some of the researchers were starting to wake up, preparing to conduct further research on the gate. The intelligence officers were taking turns on watch, while others were busy making written reports. Sue was preparing to come down from the hill and move to the tree lines, hiding among the trees in case of a sudden change in the situation, while Diablo was making tea for himself. But then, a strange sound came from behind the gate. Diablo immediately rushed outside of the camp. Sue and the Yellow Numbers stiffened and looked directly at the gate. But they saw nothing change. The gate remained closed. However, the sound of a marching army could be heard clearly. Battle stance, ready. Geld second in command, now leading the Yellow Numbers present, barked the order to get ready. Sue was readying himself in the shadows of the trees, hiding from sight. He had left the situation to Diablo as part of the effort to handle it peacefully. He was there just in case things turned ugly. Even if that was the case, the Yellow Numbers could probably handle an army. But it would be a different matter if a strong being came and attacked all at once. That would be his part to deal with. As everyone was getting ready in mere seconds, the sound of the marching troops didn't stop. On the contrary, the sound was getting closer and closer. It was worth noting that normally, the sound of marching beyond the gate could not be heard. But since the gate had attached itself to the current dimension, it couldn't escape the spread of magicules. Anyone with magic sensibility could easily hear the noise behind the gate. Diablo and Sue perceived more than just sounds. With they could figure out what was really going on inside the gate, which only made them more confused. Humans. Both Diablo and Sue were appalled by this. It wasn't an exaggeration for them to expect something unknown and powerful to come from the gate. But it turned out to be mere humans, normal ones, not enlightened or Majans. They also appeared to come with great numbers. But as seconds ticked by, Diablo and Sue could sense another kind of being. Wyverns, pretty interesting, Diablo murmured. So they have wyverns too. From what I sense, they're probably around rank B. Not much of a threat, Sue replied. Diablo opened a chat via telepathy to Sue. Diablo nodded and cut the telepathy communication. Sue reported this immediately to the commander of the yellow numbers, then relayed it to Benimaru. But before Sue could receive a response from Benimaru, the gate suddenly opened by itself. "Get ready," barked the commander of the yellow numbers. Diablo intensely watched the scene from the campsite. He wondered what these humans would do after they arrived. He hoped they wouldn't just suddenly attack. But given the situation, they were marching with fully equipped gear, the possibility of having a peaceful negotiation seemed slim. As moments passed, the marching army from the gate finally showed themselves. The light from the sun illuminated the front column of the army, and everyone could see what they looked like. They wore war helmets with strange red feathers on top. Their bodies were protected by armor from the torso to the waist. They wielded short swords and large rectangular shields, and the parts below the waist were covered with short red-colored tunic skirts. Under the steel plates on their torsos, they also appeared to be wearing red velvet-colored tunics. More and more of these humans emerged from the gate. Yet, they didn't move forward beyond the gate. I sense a familiar atmosphere," Diablo said, continuing to watch the mysterious army intently. He felt something from these humans that he didn't expect. What he sensed was fear. Diablo started to look around the mysterious army, trying to understand what made them feel afraid. But he couldn't make sense of it. There was nothing to be afraid of. Their numbers were enormous, -20,000 was the estimate. But they didn't move an inch. The leading figure looked stunned for an unknown reason. Seeing this, Diablo took advantage of the situation by immediately descending from the hill and flying toward what seemed to be the leader. Immediately, the other party shivered and took several steps backward. The leader, however, seemed to regain his composure after seeing Diablo's figure. He rode his horse forward, closing the gap between him and Diablo. Many of his men followed suit, somehow motivated by their leader. Trying to look dominant, he arrogantly spoke with a mocking demeanor toward Diablo. "Who are you?" he asked. Diablo was a bit stunned to see the human in front of him speaking with such arrogance. Yet, he was used to it and simply answered with a humble tone. "My name is Diablo. I am the second secretary of the mighty Rimurutempest Sama. With whom am I speaking?" Out of habit, Diablo always emphasized his name to show how proud he was to receive that name from Rimuru. "Hey, I am General Agnias. A proud warrior from the Satyran Empire. Listen, order your monster army to fall back, and we will spare your life." Diablo frowned at those remarks. "I cannot do such things. I have no right to do so. Then who the hell is commanding those ugly orcs?" "Well, General Agnias, why don't we have a better talk somewhere? Surely a high-ranking person like you would appreciate some luxury." Diablo thought those words might diffuse the tension, but on the contrary, General Agnias unsheathed his sword and pointed it at Diablo's head. Diablo didn't react at all, he simply gave a little smile. "We will take whatever luxury you have for ourselves. I said it once again, move your orcs, and you'll be spared. This time, General Agnias was furious. He threatened Diablo, hoping that the mage would be intimidated and back off. But instead, what he saw was an eerie smile. My, General. You have gone down the wrong path. If you continue any further, you will, clang. Before Diablo could even finish his sentence, General Agnias had already swung his sword towards Diablo's head. He wanted to demonstrate his dominance to this arrogant servant and show his men that he was serious. But sadly, none of his intentions were conveyed. You humans have very little patience. General Agnias looked at the source of that voice. He was stunned to see Diablo completely unharmed. No, not even his sword had managed to make a scratch on Diablo's head. The rest of his men were also shocked by the sight. What? How could you? General Agnias, I was ordered by my master to settle this as peacefully as possible. However, if I am attacked first, then the outcome could be very different. But I'm in a good mood today, so I will overlook what you have done earlier. In exchange, I will give you one more chance. Let's have a talk somewhere else and settle this peacefully. Diablo's calm tone somehow made General Agnias feel threatened. No, more than that, he couldn't understand how Diablo had survived his sword without even a scratch. At first glance, he thought Diablo was an ordinary mage. He had seen various mages in the Empire, and seeing a mage who could fly was a normal sight. But he had never seen a mage completely unscathed by a physical attack. Now, General Agnias felt something more than just threatened. He felt humiliated. He had come with a massive force, yet this one plebeian could stand in his way alone and speak in such a manner. The humiliation turned into anger. Fueled by this anger, his sense of being threatened became an impulse to make a rash decision. He raised his sword upward and shouted, "Attack!"